up, snobs? Happy Wine Down Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed my Wine Down Wednesday. And as promised, I am here with just the tips for you this week. And my tip of the week is how to start a wine collection. Now, when I say wine collection, I don't mean on a professional level scale or even a high enthusiast or even for the purposes of investment. I'm talking about a personal level of wine collecting. Basically like wines to have around when you're entertaining. Now, I am personally guilty of this. I normally get my wines and I normally drink my wines. Same day usually, or at least a couple of weeks out. I don't normally store wines. I am a wine drinker. But there have been times where I was like, dang, I really wish I had that Uno Malbec. And I can't find it anywhere, or it was a certain vintage like the Mandave, like a Mandave 2009, and it's gone. I don't have it, and I'm like, damn, I should at least bought a second one and stored it, because hello, I would have it now and be able to savor my flavor. But I'm gonna tell you today how you can do it so you don't end up like me and having wines on hand at all times, so you can really be a wine snob. Now, tip number one is, if you're going to be collecting wine, please make sure you have a place to store it. Most people, if you don't have a place to store it, you are going to drink the wines, and that is because you don't have anywhere to store the wines, so you will drink them. But you can either get like one of those little refrigerators, those wine refrigerators. Lots of places sell them. They're online. They're like wine. They're called wine coolers. Or if you have a wine fridge or a wine room, storage room, you can store them in there. Now, tip number two is vintage. I had mentioned earlier about a Robert Mandave vintage 2009 that I wanted, or that I had and I wanted again. Is you want to take good vintages if you can, and you know that there's a good harvest that year, or you heard that there was a good harvest that year. Go ahead, buy it. Either buy it by the case so that you have a bunch of them, or buy an additional one. Sometimes there are better years than others for certain types of things. So make sure you look at vintage when you're getting it. And remember, the older the vintage, more people tend to like it, in case you want to resell it or you reuse it. So vintage is number two. Number three is region. You want to know your wine regions so that you can get, for examples, Malbecs are from Argentina, and they're usually great. You can get a great Malbec from Argentina. So making sure that you're getting it from that vintage and holding on to it, from that region and holding on to it. Also, Napa Valley. You may want something from Napa Valley, or Germany. Germany is known for their Riesling, so you may want to get if you get a good Riesling from Germany, you may want to hold on to that. You know, especially with climate change, things in our world are changing. So what may have been good from a certain region, that could all change. We don't know. So you might want to get these regions and collect them, and you can't go wrong with the basics, with the basic good wine producing regions. France, Italy, those ones. You can't go wrong there. Now, once you have your storage, your year, your region, you also, like I said, you may want to buy it by the case. But if you plan on reselling these, redistributing them by the case, you cannot open that case and take one bottle out. You have to, once you open the case is done, basically. Especially if it's not a super rare wine. So I recommend, if you just wanted to have it, just buy a couple of extra bottles and tuck them away. One to drink now, one to drink later. Now, Also, you want to know how the wine is going to last, or rather how it's going to store. So there are wines that are going to last have a 20-year shelf life. You want to get those, especially if they're going to last a long time. But anything that's not going to last over 5 years is not worth saving. You might want to drink that now or save it for a later date in time. I know that there are some things, some cabs that I want to get, and I want to hold on to them for at least 10 years so that I can see how the fruit consistency has changed in the cabs. So just make sure that you know how that wine is going to age. If it's not going to age well, don't bother. Save yourself the time, the energy, and the space. But so those were my wine tips of the week. How you can have your own personal collection of wine. Make sure, number one, make sure you have a place to store it. Number two, make sure you have make sure you know the vintage, and it's a good vintage, and also the region. Make sure it's a good wine producing region. Number four, if you are going to save wine, either buy them single, an additional one, but if you do buy a case, do not open the case, especially if you want to use it later, because once you open the case, it depreciated. And 5, make sure that you know how the wine is going to last throughout the years, because if it doesn't make sense if it's not going to last over 5 years. I hope that these tips helped, and yeah, I'll be starting my own wine collection, and I'm excited about it. So thank you all. Hope you enjoyed tonight.